The Piper Heidsieck July Festival is one of the highlights of the summer social and sporting calendars, bringing together top-class horse racing and high fashion to the July course at Newmarket. There are, and only on Racing UK can you see every race live.
Harbour Watch is asserting and staying on very strongly. Can it be a quick double here for Ryan Moore? Gamilati under the stand side rails. Gamilati wins to Roselliana.
The feature race is the Group 1 Darley July Cup, Europe's premier sprint. It also forms part of the Global Sprint Challenge and the Kipco British Champions Series.
And Dream Ahead is getting there easily. Oh, he's gone on for a wonderful win. What class! And a marvellous win too for Hayley Turner.
With 20 other high-class contests spread over the 3 days, this is one festival of racing that's not to be missed. The Piper Heidsieck July Festival, from the 12th to the 14th of July, live on Racing UK.
Yes, the July Festival all live here on Racing UK. Here are the entries for the Bahrain Trophy. And this race will be run on Thursday at 1:20 mile and 5 furlongs. Michelangelo heads them. Valiant, Yazdi, Offer, Shantaran, Rewarded, New Yumzain, Siraj, Nassim Al Yasmin, Winner's Wish, Salford Art and Good Morning Star as well. 12 then entered in the Bahrain Trophy. Newmarket on Thursday. Do keep your emails and tweets coming in, and should we receive plenty of them, we'll put a few to Graham and Alex when we can.
Yes, an autumnal classic, and very much we've got that sort of weather right now through summer. In 2009, 2010, the likes of Corsica and Kite Wood both won this and went on to be placed at Doncaster. And then 12 months ago, Graham, you had a horse who did even better for John Gosden.
You reading my notes? That's what it says on
Is
mine.
that
Bit of
I've not stolen them, have I?
I hope not. No, you're right. It seems strange to be talking about sort of St Leger trial season, but this tends to be the first recognisable one, followed of course by the Gordon Stakes at Goodwood and the Great Voltager. I don't know the makeup of this field, so we can move through it fairly briskly with lines on 3 horses, Michelangelo, Valiant, Suraj. First thing, these 3 horses all have one thing in common. I bet you haven't read my notes to that extent.
Are they all Galileos?
Yeah.
Galileo. Yeah, indeed.
They are. They're all by Galileo. Let's pick up Michelangelo. Now, John Gosden touched on the Gordon Stakes as a likely target for this lad. Pick him up right of picture, I think in the Mass Marvel colours, yes, Alex?
Indeed, of course, winner of this race and the Leger 12 months ago.
This was a tempting assignment. Nasty tumble for Paul Hannigan there. He's back, thankfully. This was tempting because it was one of those valuable sales races, and if not easy meat for Michelangelo, he did make it look a fairly routine day's work because he picks up the pace over 2 out and gallops it out in really willing fashion. I think Cameron Highland in the largely yellow Sultan Shark colours is the one who chases him home. He edges gradually across, perhaps still a little bit of immaturity there. He edges into the whip briefly, then the whip is switched and he runs straight and true for a decisive success. So this horse has plainly been well thought of. He made his debut in a listed race at Newmarket, won at Goodwood, and picks up this valuable prize on his way to either Newmarket this week or the Gordon Stakes. Now, again, I suspect when John Gosden has a look at the shape of this field, he might be tempted to go early. He did win the race last year with Mass Marvel, and it doesn't look replete with potential classic horses, this Bahrain Trophy.
Indeed, he's making up for a long time. He looks like he stays and gallops. And like this horse Suraj by Galileo, and like Suraj, also unraced as a 2-year-old. Suraj, you can see, coming from off the pace and staying on reasonably takingly.
In a handicap on fast ground, and that may well have been detrimental to his chance. I can't say for sure because he's still, an unexposed horse, but he improved that form on much softer ground at Donny last time.
We'll come back to Suraj. Let's take a look at Valiant in action at York. This was his second start, another horse who didn't race at 2. What you can see here is a horse who is seemingly going nowhere fast, and that was the case from quite an early stage. Pace went up to level. Is that going to be a concern? I know that's often the nub of horse racing for you, or punting anyway.
The first point to make is that he wouldn't have won under most jockeys here. This was a Ryan Moore special, and the right bicep was exercised vigorously to get this horse home and get him home quite decisively in the end. I haven't jotted it down, I think that handicap win was off the mark of about 85. So, and he was pretty much all out. but he is well bred, trained by William Haggis, and highly likely to progress as he goes up in distance. But there are only two conclusions to draw from that performance: that Valiant is either green and a bit lazy, or he just needs further, or it could be a combination of both.
Reward is in there as well, who was involved in that Group 3 Tercentenary Stakes. And New Yum Zain, a namesake, won this race a few years ago before going on to place in the Arc. You'll see it with us 1:20 on Thursday.
And 3 o'clock on Thursday, the Princess of Wales Stakes. Group 2, 14 have been entered here, headed by Red Caddo, Joshua Tree, Treasure Beach, be good to see him again, Fiorente, Valdemar, Quest for Peace, Dandino, Jackalberry, Master Marvel, Moden, Nathaniel in there, but of course unlikely to run, Harris Tweed, Sea of Heartbreak, and Guldoni as well. 14 then in the Princess of Wales Stakes.
Some familiar names in action there. Some won't be turning up. Mass Marvel, of course, won on this meeting 12 months ago, is one of the possible engagements.
Yeah, just a quick canter through this, because it's very difficult to predict the exact nature of the field. You can see that plenty of good horses entered. Don't think Nathaniel will be turning out quickly under a penalty, but we could have a strong Gosden representative in Mass Marvel. Pick up the Coronation Cup, St Nicholas Abbey, mighty impressive on this day, and he leaves Mass Marvel, and he leaves Quest for Peace, and he leaves Red Caddo trailing in his wake. I thought this was a good step in the right direction for Mass Marvel. He kicks on early in the straight. St Nicholas Abbey just beats him hands down for acceleration. This was really impressive under Joseph O'Brien. But when the camera unwinds again, we've got Mass Marvel in second, we've got Red Caddo, likeable as ever, coming on pretty strong late on to grab second from Mass Marvel, and we've got Quest for Peace, to all intents, beaten fair and square in third. So at the line, it's St Nicholas Abbey by plenty, and it's Red Caddo from about 3 from Mass Marvel, and a couple back to Quest for Peace. I'm not sure it's going to be quite so clear-cut for Red Caddo as against Mass Marvel. I think ground is important for Mass Marvel. I don't think he wants it too soft. And when you look at the weather forecast for this week, Friday could be a bad day. But they might have the best of the ground on Thursday, when I'm there, fortunately. And if that's the case, Mass Marvel would have a pretty good chance of getting very close to Red Caddo.
I'll be needing this Mac, I think, on Friday when I'm down there, and looking forward to it. Dandino, Paul Mulrennan's pals, back in action, potentially there as well. And Valdemar would be an interesting contender as well. He's been snapped up for new connections.
And also Treasure Beach is in there. He'd be an interesting runner. So it's a difficult race to pin down at the moment, but either way it looks set to be a pretty good one.
It's rain day on Friday, potentially. It's also Phillies Day. It's Falmouth Day.
Well, I think we could see a really good filly in this, in the shape of Golden Lilac. 2-1 with Sky Bet. Fallen for You 5-1, 6-1 maybe. Geoffrey Sevens, 8-1 Chachamedi, Joviality 9s, 9's Emulous, Elusive Kate 12s, 14 Samitar and Laytime, 16-1 bar those. I'm a big fan, lads, of this Golden Lilac, who won the Disfahan last time up over 9 furlongs, despite pulling like a Mustang through the early stages of the race, but still seeing out the trip. A good gallop at a mile should be right up her alley, and trained by Andre Faber. I know he thinks an awful lot of her. She's only lost once so far this year, and she could be special.
Yeah, dual classic winner, of course, lest we forget from last season. Goldakova, the great Goldakova, won this race for France 3 years ago. Guess what? Another Galileo.
Is that right? Out of Grey Lilas, who was a Group 1 performer in her own right. Anybody who's watched Planet Turf will know how highly Angus thinks of this filly. I share it completely. Have a look at this. This is against top quality males. You've got Cirrus de Ziegler in front there. You've got Golden Lilac about to challenge, and she, having pulled pretty hard, quickens in striking manner. She's got Reliable Man in behind. Is that Tin Horse the Grey, who won a pretty good race yesterday? In short, the form looks high class. She has to be pushed out firmly to win, but despite pulling hard, she showed a good turn of foot. She is a proper Group 1 filly, and if you're looking for contenders, sort of betting without Frankel as regards best miler in Europe this season, she would not be far off favourite in my book. So I can't wait to see her. It was always asking a bit too much that bookmakers might miss the fact that she's got such an impressive record now. 2-1 doesn't leave you a great deal of room to manoeuvre, but I really hope she runs, because if she does, she's the class act in the race.
Yeah, she very much is. Classic winner, of course, winning the 1,000 guineas over in France, and indeed the French Oaks last season too. And around about 2-1 with Sky Bet, I think that's still a fair price. All sorts of contenders on this side of the channel as well. Horses like Fallen For You, who came good at Royal Ascot. We can see her in a very different sort of contest prior to that at Kempton back on, I think it was Guineas weekend. You've got Maybe to consider. We'll talk about Joviality in due course as well. But guess what? Another Gosden runner.
Yeah, she bolts up as she had to do at about 5-1 on this race. Significantly, she's gone on and won at Group 1 level in the Coronation Stakes, where she definitely benefited from the market leaders going very hard from halfway, but she took advantage.
This is Maybe in the Oaks, winner of the Moyglare last season, placed in the Guineas, some classy form in there.
Yeah, and if she goes back to a mile this Thursday, she's a definite player. She didn't quite get home, ridden to try and pounce late here, but the stamina seemed to run on empty late. She was a high quality filly last season. She's done enough to suggest she's trained on, and I don't think she's a 1.5 mile filly. Sensible to be looking at options back at a mile, I think.
Joviality and Churchill ID are closely matched. Joviality was placed in the Princess Margaret at the Derby meeting. Absolutely hated the track. No surprise to see her propelled forward when the next time we saw her at Ascot.
Yeah, she beats Clinical in that race, which opened Derby weekend. She finishes second to Clinical on this occasion, but she went on to Royal Ascot in the Windsor Forest Group 2, and that could be a significant galloping clue. Dig it out if you can, because she beat Chacham-ID, Lay Time, Barefoot Lady and Beatrice Aurore. They all have the potential to turn up again. Have a look at this filly right of picture. This is Chacham-ID in last year's Sun Chariot Stakes. We know what she can do now. It's plenty. Hold up, quicken, but to me, Alex, she seems to have one quite striking run, but when it comes to an end, there isn't a great deal more to draw, and a stiff mile at Newmarket this Thursday, if the ground is on the easy side, might just tax her stamina. Likeable filly. We've shown some very valuable galloping clues there. Here's another. Elusive Kate, hopefully back in action after a lengthy break.
Yes, of course. Winning the Prix Marcel Boussac at Longchamp last ARC weekend, October. Running in different silks then as to those you line up on Friday. The white muzzle colours, the Sir Fraser colours as well, will be carried by this filly.
And she covers pretty much every blade of grass at Longshot, an expansive route home, but she beats Fire Lady, who's come out this season and won a pretty good race. She then went onto the Breeders' Cup juvenile filly turf and didn't really cut a great deal of ice after a rough trip, but it's a strong race. There's one horse who I think stands, if not head and shoulders above the race, she stands one notch above them based on that Longchamp galloping clue we saw, and that's Golden Lilac.